Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We are going to unpack a truly profound lesson on the art of patience and trusting life's timing. We're drawing from a beautiful narrative today that challenges the very way we react to the world around us. So, if you're ready to completely rethink how you view the ups and downs of your own life, you are in exactly the right place.
So tell me, have you ever called a disaster the exact moment it happened? Think about it. Something goes completely wrong, your perfectly laid plans just fall apart, and immediately you label it the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen to you. Come on, we have all been there. But how many times did that exact same disaster later turn out to be a hidden blessing? The core truth our source material points out here is that we are rarely, if ever, wise enough to judge life the exact moment it arrives. What feels like an absolute devastating loss today might actually be preparing us for something far greater tomorrow. The problem? Most of us just don't have the patience to wait and see. We want the spoiler at the end of the book right now. Let's move into Section 1, The Illusion of Luck and the Farmer's Prized Horse. To really understand this, we're going to travel to the lush Harvey Hills of India. Picture a simple farmer living with his family and their absolute most treasured possession, a strikingly handsome, incredibly intelligent horse. Well, word of this magnificent horse gets around and reaches a wealthy merchant. He immediately comes to the village and offers the farmer a massive sack of gold coins. The contrast in reactions here is just striking. The villagers are wide-eyed, hyperventilating with excitement, and when the farmer actually refuses the gold, they erupt with gossip. They call him a total fool who just threw away his one big chance at wealth. But the farmer's resolve? It is unshakable. He simply says, "This horse is not just an animal to us. He is part of our family, and family is not for sale." He doesn't argue, he just goes right back to working his field. Moving on to Section 2, The Chain of Fortune, a whiplash of events. Hold on tight, because the pacing of our story is about to speed up significantly as we look at the incredible domino effect that follows that merchant's visit. And this brilliantly illustrates the wild whiplash that strikes this quiet farm. If we track this unpredictable chain reaction, we see this thrilling, totally interconnected timeline. Day 1, the prized horse escapes. Boom. Just 1 week later, it returns with 5 wild horses. The very next day, the farmer's son breaks his leg. And a mere 2 weeks after that, a brutal war draft sweeps through the village. Let's break down exactly how our farmer navigates this utter chaos. Okay, so the first domino falls just a few days after the merchant leaves. The son goes to the stable and the rope is untied. The horse is gone. The villagers are practically clicking their tongues, saying, "See, we told him so. What a terrible loss." Even the son is heartbroken, but the farmer, he just places a steady hand on his son's shoulder and says, "What looks like a loss today may not be a loss tomorrow. Don't be so quick to call this a disaster." Which brings us to the farmer's recurring mantra. Who knows what is good and what is bad? Only time will tell. He tells his son that everything happens for a reason. Be patient, be thankful, and keep your faith strong. He completely refuses to jump to conclusions and judge the moment. Now, let's see how this builds, because exactly 1 week later, the narrative completely flips. Early in the morning, the son hears hoofs. The horse has returned, and get this, he's brought 5 magnificent, untamed wild horses with him. The village goes wild. The exact same people who literally just called him a fool are now calling him the luckiest man alive, bragging that he'll be wealthier than the merchant. But our grounded farmer? He just smiles quietly and tells his son, "Do not celebrate too soon. Let us not judge this moment either." And wow, the farmer's caution was absolutely warranted. The very next day, eager to train these new wild horses, the son mounts a strong stallion. The horse violently bucks, throwing the young man to the ground. There's a sickening crack. His right leg is broken in 2 places. Notice the villagers' sudden whiplash here. Now they claim the wild horses brought nothing but trouble, and that the farmer's greed cost his son. But the farmer, sitting calmly by his son's bed, offers this beautiful piece of wisdom. The same rain that floods the valley nourishes the forest. Lying there in pain, the son looks up and asks his father, "Was this meant to happen too?" And the farmer, as calm as ever, repeats his unshakable belief. Who knows what is good and what is bad? Only time will tell. Amidst all this sudden tragedy, the farmer maintains his perfect, steady peace. But guys, life wasn't done turning and twisting just yet. 2 weeks later, the sound of drums and trumpets echoes through the village. The king's soldiers ride in with a brutal royal decree. A war has broken out on the northern border, and every able-bodied young man is to be drafted into the army immediately. No exceptions, no excuses. 23. That is the sheer number of young men taken from this simple, quiet farming village. Boys who had literally only ever known the plow and the harvest were suddenly handed swords and marched away. Mothers wailed. Fathers stood in stunned silence. The village's heart was just ripped out. Months passed. The war was brutal and it was long. And when it finally ended, this was the heartbreaking reality. 9. Out of the 23 young men drafted, only 9 survived to return home. The rest perished on the battlefield. The families that had once mocked the farmer were now grieving for sons they would never see again. But what about the farmer's son? Here is the profound twist. When the soldiers had come to the farmer's door and saw the young man lying on a cot with his leg bound in splints, they just moved on. They literally said, "This one is of no use to us." The son was spared. Think about it. The horse running away brought 5 more. The wild horses brought a broken leg. And the broken leg, which felt like this terrible, unfair punishment, actually saved his life. This brings us to Section 3, 3 pillars of patience. So the crucial point is, what can we actually learn from this? How do we take the farmer's quiet wisdom under the old neem tree and apply it to our modern, chaotic lives? Well, the source material breaks this down into actionable rules. Let's break down these 3 pillars of patience. First up, stop judging every moment instantly. Give life the time to reveal its full picture, because life does not unfold in straight lines. It twists and it turns. Second, trust the unseen process. Just because you can't see the road ahead doesn't mean it leads nowhere. The complete picture is always larger than the tiny piece you can see today. And third, stay steady in both good times and bad. When things go well, stay humble. When things fall apart, stay hopeful. Balance, exactly as the farmer showed us, is the real key to inner peace. Which leads right into Section 4. Your own hidden blessings. Now, I want to pivot the focus directly onto you and apply this exact lens of patience to your life. Consider these really common setbacks: losing a job, bombing a huge exam, going through a messy breakup, facing a sudden financial setback. In the exact moment they happen, it feels like the sky is falling, right? But how many times have you looked back weeks, months, or even years later and realized that that very setback pushed you toward a much better career, a stronger relationship, or a deeper understanding of yourself? Life is a whole book, and you just cannot judge a book by reading one single page. You have to wait until the evening to see how splendid the day has actually been. So I want to leave you with this provocative question. What terrible event in your life actually turned out to be a massive blessing in disguise? I'd love for you to drop your hidden blessing story in the comments. Seriously, your story of a broken leg saving you might be exactly the encouragement someone else needs to read today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Until next time, be patient, stay grateful, and keep moving forward in life.